A month or so ago, I made a video detailing my process of grinding and mixing feed for our chickens and pigs. And that video generated a lot of great comments and questions. I'm back grinding feed again today, so I thought I would take this opportunity to make a follow-up video to answer some of those questions and provide some additional insight. And then at the end, I'm going to sit down and go through a cost analysis to see, am I really saving money? I got a few questions on the grinder and the equipment that I'm using. The grinder here is an AMA brand grain grinder. I purchased it from a website called agristoreusa.com, but I've also seen it online at Tractor Supply and some other online retailers. This mixer is from Harbor Freight. It's a 3.5 cubic foot cement mixer. I also found a similar one on Amazon that seems to be a little bit better price. I'm gonna put links to all this stuff below if anybody's interested in purchasing any of this equipment. In a video a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that part of the reason why I like this mixer is it's a dual purpose machine. I can also mix concrete in it. I've heard of people mixing soil blends for seed starting and stuff like that in these mixers. So there's multiple different usages for it. It's not just for the feed mixing process. Another option, if you don't want to purchase this mixer or want to spread your cost out, is to just mix it by hand in a wheelbarrow or a gorilla cart like this. This is what I did for probably the first 3 or 4 months that we had this grinder. Was I just had the grinder and then I mixed by hand in a wheelbarrow. Once we got into the heat of the summer and our pigs were getting pretty big, we had meat chickens going on, and I was grinding like 300 or 400 pounds of feed every month. Then I decided to buy the mixer just because it's a lot easier and quicker for me to do it that way. But if you're just doing a small amount of feed, or if you want to do like I did and just buy one piece and then another one a little bit later and spread out the cost, this is another good option. With this method, I will actually dump the corn and oats in first, then add in our wheat and ground soybean last. And then we add our mineral, and then just mix it all in. Takes a little bit more time and a little bit more effort than the mixer does, but it's really honestly not that bad. A little bit not perfectly mixed in, and then I just give it another mix one more time once I get it into the container here. The next question that I got was about recipes. I did respond to a comment and point them to the book Pasture Poultry Profit by Joel Salatin, and that's where I got all my recipes to start out with. The recipe that I use for our chicks, as well as for our meat birds for their whole life cycle, is that broiler ration from that book. For the chicks, I ferment the feed, and then I serve them that fermented for at least the first 2 to 3 weeks, because fermenting does increase the protein content. I'm not going to spell out that recipe here because it's not mine, but I will put a link to that book in the description if you're interested in that. When I first started grinding feed, I used a layer ration recipe from that book as well. But since then, I've merged that recipe with a couple of other recipes that I found online to find one that works the best for me. So I'm going to share that here. Feel free to use it, but I will add this disclaimer that I'm not a veterinarian or a nutritionist or anyone qualified. I just did a lot of calculations and comparisons between recipes that I found online to come up with one that, from everything I can tell, meets the nutrition requirements. I've been feeding this to my flock for about a year now, and they've all been happy, healthy, and have laid well even throughout the winter. And really, that's the best indicator of their overall health, is how well they're laying eggs. If there's something wrong with their nutrition, their environment, anything that's causing stress on them, their first thing that they shut down is their egg production. I do this recipe in a 75-pound batch because that's what I found to be the most effective maximum capacity of this mixture. You go any larger and it starts to spill out and it doesn't mix well. So for 75 pounds, it's 30 pounds of corn, 17 pounds roasted soybeans, 15 pounds of wheat, whole, that's not ground, use whole wheat, 9 pounds of oats, 2¼ pounds of Fertrell Poultry NutriBalancer, and 3¾ pounds of aragonite, which is a calcium supplement. The other question that I got was how many chickens we're supporting. Over the winter, we've just had 10. We just got 30 new chicks, 15 of which will be future layer hens. I already got ordered 10 turkeys that are gonna come in a month. And we're planning to do another 50 or so meat birds in the fall. We're also planning to do some more pigs this year, so we've got plenty of feed to grind this year. I think that question was probably getting at economy of scale. And I agree, if you've only got a small flock of chickens, it's probably going to be hard to justify the payback on this equipment. But there are some other benefits of this method other than just cost savings, which I'm going to touch on in a minute. So if you're in that boat, don't rule this out just yet. So now for the cost analysis. Here is my cost for the individual feed ingredients scaled to 50 pounds, and then the pounds per batch on our layer recipe. This is for my 75-pound batch, which if you add it up, you'll see it actually adds to 77 pounds. I wanted to have nice round numbers for the individual ingredients and not have like 29.838 pounds of corn. So that's why it adds up to 77. So that converts to $14.88 for 50 pounds worth of feed. For me, the best comparison is to compare to the feed that's available for sale at the mill where I buy the grain. They use the same non-GMO grains. They use even the same Fertrell minerals. So it's as close as I can get. And I also know that they grind fresh every week. So what you're buying there is fresh feed. Their price for 50 pounds of layer feed is $22. So at $14.88, I'm saving $7.12 on the ingredients. Now it does take time as well for me to grind that feed, but it actually takes me less time than it would to go get feed every month. It's about an hour and a half round trip to go there, get the feed, and come back. And in order to keep it fresh, I'd have to go every month. So what's the deal about fresh feed? Well, as soon as a grain is ground, it starts to deteriorate nutritionally. From what I've read, it's best to use the feed within about 3 to 4 weeks of when it's ground in order to get the optimum nutrition. Having that fresh feed is a big part of why I'm doing this as well, not just the cost savings. I got a comment asking for me to do a comparison between my costs and what it would cost at Tractor Supply or a similar store. For the feed mill, it was easy. It's all the same ingredients. They only have one version of a layer feed, so it's a pretty cut and dry comparison. Tractor Supply, there's a lot of different options. The cheapest option is their Producer's Pride at $13.29 for 40 pounds. So that would be the equivalent of $16.62 for 50 pounds. So that's a little bit less than $1.50 more than what we're paying for our ingredients, but it's not really a fair comparison. That's conventional, and we're comparing to non-GMO, and non-GMO just costs more. The grains cost more. That Fertrell mineral that we're using is definitely not the cheapest, and it might be the most expensive option there is, but from what I've found, it's the best quality, and that's what we're going for, is high quality feed. If we care about non-GMO, like I do, then the best price that I found was for their Do More brand non-GMO feed, $15.49 for 35 pounds, which equates to $22.13 for 50 pounds, right on par with what our feed mill is. The problem with this is I can't find it. It's on their website, but it's not available at our local store or any store within a radius as far as the website will let me search. So if I want an option that's non-GMO from Tractor Supply, the best option that I could find that I can actually purchase in the store in our area is the Do More Organic at $25.99 for 40 pounds, $32.49 for 50 pounds. I understand that organic is more expensive than non-GMO due to the certifications, but I can't find any non-organic, non-GMO feeds at Tractor Supply that are actually available. The comment also pointed out utility and time implied. For our power costs, I calculated about 5 cents of power usage to make this batch, and it takes about 30 minutes. So if we say 5 cents for power and then maybe say $10 for labor, that's 30 minutes at $20 an hour, we're at about $25 total cost, which is still cheaper than that $32 for the organic feed from Tractor Supply. You also have to take into account the time that it takes to go get it at Tractor Supply and the cost with that. I mean, you got to go get the stuff, go through the checkout line, put it in your cart. Even if you're already driving right by there, there's time and cost involved with that as well. I picked up a bag of that Do More organic feed from Tractor Supply, And I checked the date on it, and it was manufactured in September of 2023. We're in April of 2024, so that feed's over 6 months old. So the freshness comparison, you can't even compare it with Tractor Supply. So for me, since I care about having non-GMO, high quality, fresh feed, this definitely saves me money. There's no fresh options at Tractor Supply, and closest mill for me to go pick up and get it every month would take me more time and money than it does for me to actually mill it myself. But as they say, your mileage may vary. The situation is going to be different for everybody, and so your numbers might not be the same as mine. I know this was a little bit different type of video than our normal project video, but since I got a lot of questions, I thought I would take this opportunity to make this. Let me know below what you think about this. You like this type of video, or just stick with the normal projects and don't bother with this kind of stuff? Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you back here next time.